Hear me properly, everyone. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. I hope everyone can hear me properly. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Excellent. Good evening, and thank you for joining me to this live stream. Thank you to all of those who have been waiting and everyone joining us. And thank you to our moderators, Violet and Oryx, for doing a good job. I posted a video earlier on. Obviously, before I start, for anyone new joining us, I do these live streams every evening for you, for everyone to ask questions, participate. Obviously, I get a lot of comments on my videos, but it's hard to keep up with the level of interaction. And many people have very deep and good questions when it comes to the subjects that we talk about. So I started planning a nightly live stream with all of you, obviously nightly in the UK. If you're in America or Australia or any other part of the world, could be different. But they're primarily for you, so I can obviously share your thoughts, obviously, and I can share them as well. And also ask any questions that I would be more than happy to help. In my previous video, I spoke about the latest statements from Abu Ubaida, who is the spokesperson for Al-Qassam Brigades, and Hassan Nasrallah, the Secretary General of Hezbollah. And obviously, you can ask me any questions about the subject. What I wanted to speak about primarily in this live stream, and obviously feel free to go off this specific topic when it comes to comments and questions later on, is a US deal. So we've had multiple platforms in Israel and outside of it saying that the US is trying to enforce a deal of a one-state solution. Sorry, one-state solution, two-state solution. I'm preoccupied with the one-state solution, of a two-state solution. And they're speaking with many Arab countries. despite rejection from Israel. So ever since this began, the Israeli side wasn't talking about a potential peace deal or whatever it is, at least not when it comes to statements. As a matter of fact, when it came to the statements, we heard the contrary. And when they spoke about the statements, they showed clear rejection when it comes to many things to do with stopping the war or having a peace treaty or having a Palestinian state. What's happening now is these reports are saying that the US administration is cooking a deal and they're speaking with many Arab states, and that's why probably the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas was in Qatar to potentially speak with Hamas. This deal obviously includes like timeline for a Palestinian state, even Blinken said that. And an Arab source told this news network that reported it in Israel or quoted it on him that Hamas might have to be included in this government, which completely goes against what Israel has been saying since this genocide began, is that they don't want to see Hamas in what they describe as the day after Gaza. They also didn't specify many things to do with the level of sovereignty of the state. So from Israel's perspective, they always said we want to have security, ultimate security control for everything to do with the whole area of Palestine, historical Palestine, to the west of the Jordan River. And Netanyahu stated this multiple times. After these reports came to light, Israeli leaders went mad, particularly, obviously, Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich, the Minister of National Security, Ben-Gvir, and the Finance Minister, Bezalel Smotrich, the very hard right that are keeping Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition afloat. There are a couple of dangerous things with this. Obviously, they criticize, saying, how dare they? We won't allow a terror state to be next to us. This will be a reward to Hamas for attacking us on the 7th of October. We'll legitimize them, or all of these things, okay? So very harsh criticism. But the dangerous aspect of it is the fact that it's being negotiated with people apart from Benjamin Netanyahu within Israel. And the main talks here about Benny Gantz. Benny Gantz, we've already had reports previously that the Arab leaders who are dealing with Israel are only speaking with Benny Gantz, and he's getting more legitimacy from other countries. He's obviously in the war cabinet. He was previously the IDF chief. He's not in a good relation with Benjamin Netanyahu. As a matter of fact, the latest report that I also spoke about a couple of days ago in Israel said that they hardly talk to each other. So Netanyahu is becoming increasingly more paranoid, not just psychopathic, more paranoid, and he's not trusting anyone around him, not the defense minister, not the IDF chief, not even the Mossad head that's supposed to be directly linked to his office. Go report directly to him. This is the most dangerous part. The fact that it's happening with the people that he's in constant beef with, and they could potentially be cooking a deal with them for the day after and planning to oust Netanyahu. Now, many reports came about when it comes to people potentially dealing with other parts, other leaders in Israel. I spoke about potentially planning a coup, especially when Blinken met or tried to meet, with the IDF chief. And back then he wasn't allowed by the Israeli government. And they criticized that heavily. Back then they said, we're not a banana republic. We always have to have a political delegation. When foreign politicians try and meet with the military grade leadership in Israel, they were very annoyed about it. And clearly, these attempts are giving Netanyahu more reasons to be paranoid. because the war hasn't ended yet. This genocide hasn't ended yet. We're still not in a ceasefire stage, but the American administration is saying we want a deal that will have timelines, because previously obviously it was all talk. They spoke in Annapolis. Obviously you had after the Oslo Accords, Bush administration, Barack Obama, nothing came to fruition. It was all talk, because and it's part of Israel's strategy to constantly talk and to manage the conflict, not to solve the conflict. Obviously that blew up in their faces massively on the 7th of October. Now they have to uh, reach a solution, but clearly they're not seeing eye to eye with their biggest ally and supporter, which is the United States. But now, clearly, there are talks about them doing things behind their back to potentially try and enforce a deal, regardless of how complicated that is. And they even had some details coming afloat, by the way. Those details included removing large chunks of the settlements in the West Bank. Also, the fact that Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister, said that we won't agree to a terror state having an army next to us clearly signals that there's talks about this state potentially having a high level of sovereignty, which Israel is very much against. So this was the main topic really that I want to talk to you about. Obviously, Israel is still rejecting it massively. And I'll open up the space for you guys to share your comments. I'll try and obviously answer and mention most of them as much as possible. Excuse me if I don't in advance, because we just want to try and stick to the kind of either most relevant comments to the topic, things that most of the viewers will be interested to know as well, and obviously catering to the time too. Obviously, greetings, salam, and welcome to everyone greeting me. Taylor and David, thank you so much. And we have Judith from cold New York, and Australia as well. Greetings to all of you. Judith is from New York. We have the Truth Seeker. Okay. We have another Australia, lots of Australia and Denmark as well. Helen, welcome. Okay, let's go to the first question. Okay, Rasha Saranda, interesting question. Do you anything about Muhammad Dahlan? Is he a future for Gaza or a negative guy? Very interesting question. This guy is coming to the headlines now. Thank you for anyone sending super thanks, by the way. I really appreciate it, and I'll get to all of you in a second and mention you as well and comment on how you participated. So Muhammad Dahlan, it's specifically Daniela Modus Cutter. Thank you so much, Daniela. I really appreciate that. Anyone sending super thanks. Muhammad Dahlan was a previous leader in the security forces in the Fatah movement that is obviously affiliated with the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, but that was previously controlling Gaza. He was very much a controversial figure in Palestinian politics. He was aligned to an extent with Israel. When Hamas won the elections in 2006, he took a very negative and inflammatory role in enticing against Hamas, promoting a lot of division, and also sectarian division, even though it doesn't exist in Palestine, but he also tried to stir up sectarian violence. He was eventually, and just to give you a background, a little bit of context, because you can go into lots of details about this. Hamas won the elections. They tried to form a coalition. They won about 70% in 2006. They decided to participate in the elections because to them Israel withdrew, so we have free land. They didn't want to participate in elections under occupation. So when they expelled Israel from Gaza, they withdrew from Gaza in 2005. In 2006, they said we will participate in the elections because previously there was just resistance and they were focusing more on like charitable organizations, education, all of these things, or they call da'wah. So they participated in the elections. They obviously won by approximately 72% in Gaza, a bit less majority in the West Bank, but they still won by majority. They tried to form a unity government, a national unity government with Fatah. But there started to be lots of problems with the positions and who has what. So Fatah was more aligned with Israel, obviously, because of the Oslo Accords, security ties, all of these things. I'm sure many of you know that. Hamas obviously started negotiating and they showed willingness to reach a national unity government because that's what was, good for the people. National unity governments working for the people, really, instead of opposing each other and bickering. However, Fatah started to ask for key positions like security, foreign minister, key positions that typically the stronger and winning party gets. Now, Hamas, to an extent, wanted to go ahead with many of them. However, they had a problem with two particular ministerial positions. If I'm not mistaken, one of them was related to national security. The second one was with the foreign secretary. So, obviously, blew up their negotiations. They started fighting. The kind of official forces, police versus police. There were obviously groups that were there to even deepen this division aligned with Israel that probably weren't related to the two. However, there was a fight between the two groups that was blatant. It reached a stage where it almost went out of control up until Hamas took a decision to bring Al-Qassam brigades into the picture. When they told Al-Qassam brigades, just we need to get this under control, Al-Qassam brigades went in, they took everything down, Hamas was in power, ended there. After that happened, masses of the previous Palestinian Authority forces and those who were fighting Hamas fled. Some of them fled to Egypt, some of them fled to Israel. Israel back in the day stripped all of them in Erez checkpoint, other checkpoints, started getting them in Israel. They fled to Egypt and some of them from Egypt to Gulf states. One of these people was Muhammad Dahlan. Muhammad Dahlan went to the UAE. He started to support some of the, amirs, princes there, and he started to, have more popularity, establish himself. I think he also controls the TV network partially with the UAE, has some sort of involvement with it. It's called Al Ghad TV. However, with time, the man started to change his tone because he's an opponent to Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian Authority president in the West Bank, and they obviously have their internal divisions, not their historical rivalry with Hamas. However, when Yahya Sinwar took the position of the Hamas leader in Gaza, both him and Muhammad Dahlan are from Khan Yunis. So they know each other from a very young age. They have this relationship. So they both started having a reconciliatory tone between both of them. And people thought that if there were to be like a national unity government or whatever, they could potentially make things work. And he speaks in a more kind of open tone when it comes to Palestine and Hamas altogether. Is this a plan from him because he's been abroad so much and he has historical ties with Israel? We don't really know. But the fact of the matter is, he could have returned to the West Bank, but he didn't because the West Bank is controlled by Mahmoud Abbas, right? The Palestinian president. Why did he not go back there? Because he has an internal problem with Fatah. Now, obviously, that we're talking about the day after with a potential solution, his name is popping up because many people are talking about the day after Mahmoud Abbas as well. This man is really old. We had no elections for 18 years for obviously various reasons. One of them is the split, the initial fighting, and also the fact that we're still under occupation in constant Israeli aggression. And you have a country that doesn't allow any such activities, right? They don't want anything happening in terms of national unity or government or people working together in the West Bank and in Gaza to try and reach any sort of solution. As a matter of fact, Israel's unilateral withdrawal from Gaza, obviously you have the argument of them facing resistance in Gaza, which is true. However, some observers, and they base this idea on multiple things really, believe that it was a deliberate attempt from Israel to split Gaza and the West Bank to make it impossible to form a two-state solution. And the previous Israeli Prime Minister, Ariel Sharon, he had this demon legal advisor. I forgot his name, but he had an advisor. His legal advisor, he was the one who advised him to withdraw from Gaza. Why did he advise him to withdraw from Gaza? Because to him, if Israel withdraws from Gaza, Hamas have more popularity in Gaza. There's a split and they control Gaza. You de facto make it impossible to reach a two-state solution. And Hamas is indeed controlling Gaza, and the West Bank is controlled by the PLO. And that split obviously doesn't contribute to reaching a two-state solution. So Israel was, very much proactive and projected things that might happen. And indeed they did. So that, in short, kind of summarizes a little bit of a brief about Muhammad Dahlan and the situation. I hope I added some beneficial information when it comes to that. Amir Khan, thank you so much for your super sticker. I love this victory sign. Thank you so much. And Habibullah, thank you so much. I appreciate you, brother. Keep it up, you said. I appreciate all of you and everyone else as well. Okay, so that's with Muhammad Dahlan, the first question. And let's go to your second question. I'm sorry, I have to go back up so much. All right. And obviously, greetings to everyone joining us, and salam. Clean and green, grass monster, indeed. Salam from Leicester, from Tangier, all of you. Let's go back to question. We have Yasser from Michigan as well. And we also have, let me see. Rhonda Gutierrez, answer me this. Wasn't Israel and Muslims from Abraham? One is Isaac, one is Ishmael, both of them brothers and Hebrews? Yes. I mean, traditionally, when it comes to the lineage, yes, but I don't see how that is kind of how that relation could be relevant to what's happening now, number one. Because, I mean, if you want to talk about like blood ties or whatever, brothers fight, right? And also, Israel's claim, contemporary Zionists claim that they are somehow descendants of Bani Israel, sons of Israel, is absurd and unsubstantiated. If there is any link to any contemporary Jews to historical Jewish people, it would probably be the Shomronim, As-Samiriyun, or other Jewish communities that were in Palestine before Israel was established. And from a humanitarian perspective, I mean, we're all a human family, right? This is how I view it. And you will obviously see there's evil, there's good. And, what we're talking about is hopefully trying to reach a solution, really. But I mean, in short, yeah, obviously there is that historical link. Okay. Okay. Joviatesk, interesting question. How does Israel control what comes in through Rafah border in terms of humanitarian help? Are there troops stationed there? No, there are no Israeli troops stationed there. But the agreement that they initially had with the Rafah crossing and the whole Philadelphia corridor in 2005 with the previous Palestinian Authority that is now in the West Bank states that anything that moves from Egyptian Rafah to Palestinian Rafah, as in the Rafah crossing, has to be approved by all parties. Now, the most problematic party when it comes to this is Israel. Israel would ask the Egyptians, okay, give us information. What is this? What is that? Where is it coming from? Monitor it, whatever it is. And then they will stop it. So obviously some people will tell you Egypt is not allowing that in due to that agreement. Obviously there's criticism as to why are you even still considering that agreement. Absolutely. But that's why it's so complicated. But even with this situation, Israel is still not trusting the current setup. So that's why they came up with multiple proposals for Egypt. One of them was dismantle the Rafah crossing that we have now and move it to close to Karm Abu Salim or Kerem Shalom in Hebrew. That is in the edge of the southern eastern part of Gaza that is linked with Israel and Egypt. But that way, Israeli troops would be there. So they will have more control, they will physically be there, and they would kind of have a more strict security tie when it comes to this, because don't forget, many in Israel suspect that Egypt not only has things going under the ground to Gaza, but also over the ground. And again, which is something very ridiculous in my opinion, because really and truly, once Hamas got into power in Gaza, they were democratically elected. You should have a direct dealing with them and ditch that agreement with Israel. Why does Israel have to do anything with liberated territory? It's not your territory. As a matter of fact, you occupied all of Palestine. We need to talk about dismantling you and getting rid of the current supremacist government, right? Dismantle apartheid as a whole. So I hope that clarifies. Mahdi Bisbis, Salam alaikum Mahmoud, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. What are your thoughts about Ansarullah? Ansarullah is the Houthis, to those of you who don't know, Yemeni, and the Taliban sending troops to support Gaza. Is it even possible? It's more possible with, look, I mean, if an all-out war breaks out, they will potentially have a route to get there, Taliban. However, in the present situation, I don't see how they can contribute. When it comes to Ansarullah, they actually had military games, military training, signaling that they're training against Israeli settlements. I mean, they said that they were training against Israeli settlements. which raised eyebrows back then. It's like, okay, they're not just sending UAVs and missiles or targeting ships, they are also training on ground activity. Was it only to scare Israel, or were there actual steps? I wouldn't be surprised if there were actual steps and plans. When, now we're talking when, not if, really, because it's looking like it's getting there. An all-out war breaks out, they can clearly do something. There would be a potential, however, not in this current climate. Rajay Janho, I'm proud of your contribution to our people. Your analysis is spot on most of the time. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Appreciate all of you as well. Helene Larson, thank you very much about the comment about the book. You told me you're a publisher and you wrote a book as well. And I wrote a book, yeah. And you want to make an article and promote. Thank you so much for that offer. Definitely listen, contact me via email and we'll hopefully check what can be done with that. Thank you so much. You'll find my email on my channel page, by the way. And our moderator, Oryx, became a member. Thank you very much and welcome. Carla, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Thank you. William. William Justice says there will be a settlement and many Israelis will be relocated around the Dnipro in Ukraine. Look, I mean, already so many Israelis have fled, right, voluntarily. Over 1.2 million were outside of Israel before the 7th of October. Israeli statistics confirm that 1 million left up to mid to end November only, and we're 3.5 months past that now, okay? A couple of weeks ago, one report in one day in Ben Gurion airport said that 30,000 people left Israel in one day. So they stopped releasing the stats from back then. But if we want to be conservative, add another million. Really, that's conservative. So all of the calculation, the total, and by the way, the 1.2 initial million, they don't include descendants. And that's people fleeing Israel from before. Don't forget you have a wave of people fleeing when they planned for the judicial reform because they were foreseeing Israel turning into a complete dictatorship. Now we had our comments about that and all of these protests because they were protests to keep Jewish supremacy. And what we said back then is you should fight for total equality for everyone between the Jordan River to the sea, not to keep your supremacy against dictatorship. However, regards to resettlements, if this war ends, they could be going everywhere. I mean, there are groups on Facebook in Israel, about relocation. Well, what's the best place to go to? What place is safe? Which place is safe for Israelis? Where you have good economy, low rent, stuff like that. Muslim revert said the Arabs are talkers, not doers. Look, I assume you mean the Arab leaders, and I would recommend and I know it's sometimes hard, but adjust the language still, it's more appropriate to specify the Arab leaders or the Arab governments. I'm Arab, you know what I mean? It's like when we talk about, Western countries or the American government, it's important to highlight the American government. So many American people are against this. The British government, the British leaders, not the British people. The people, so many of us, so many of them support this. So many of them don't have an opinion, maybe they couldn't care less. So I think it's important to highlight that. But I think you mean Arab leaders. Yeah, many of them talk. Some of them do. But nothing from what has been done has been enough to stop this genocide, unfortunately. And Mehdi, Salam, and everyone, greetings who is joining. Let me go to the other comment or question. Ansarullah Mahmoud beat Unit 8200. Nice. Well, I never declared anything against them, right? I'm sitting here in peace trying to talk. And if we get interruptions, we will continue and try other ways. Okay, Kofi. Is Egypt building Gaza too in the Sinai? No. Egypt is building another border, preparing for a unilateral action from Israel that they suspect Israel will conduct and make Israel's plan fail again. Israel wanted Egypt to open everything, to have an influx of Palestinian people, get rid of the population, then close the borders and rebuild settlements in Gaza after they expel all of the Palestinian population. Egypt now knows that Israel didn't listen to their warnings, are completely disregarding them, despite the fact that they're the biggest country with a strategic peace treaty, Arab country with a strategic peace treaty with them. And they suspect that Israel will take action. But how are they going to counter it? Are they going to sit there passively? Of course not. So they're creating something with, regardless of Israel, obviously, because that's Egyptian territory. So they probably didn't even tell anything to Israel. They just did it because they know, okay, Israel, you're doing it unilaterally. You're going to Rafah. You're disregarding what we have to say, um, right? You're pushing it further. Okay, I'm going to take this step to show you that even if you do that, you're going to fail. This is the message that Egypt is sending. Jennifer, hi from New Zealand. Great to see this channel getting more subs every day. Thanks to you and obviously everyone, all of you. I hope this elaborated on Muna's question, why is Egypt building a fence too? Juror number 6, you also asked about Dahlan. When we finish this stream, go back to the beginning. I detailed a lot about Muhammad Dahlan, his potential role, a bit of background about him, and any potential kind of involvement. Bondui, hello, thank you for all of your Toronto here. Welcome, and welcome to all of you. Akram, Amin, what will happen if Israel goes ahead with the Rafah plan? Will other countries come to support Gaza? Look, let me tell you this. That's the, short and very direct answer. If people didn't come in to stop the massacres in the beginning, when they bombed Al Ma'madan and before Al Ma'madan, where they were killing 500, 600, 700 people a day, I'm not expecting them to join in now. The catastrophes and the most atrocious barbaric acts were in the beginning. That's why I remember to this day very well who was quiet in the beginning. And obviously, you have people still quiet to this day, and what they did in the beginning, in the early days. That's important to remember. When they bombed the hospitals, residential buildings with the people inside them, children's feet coming outside the walls. We remember those images very well, and we will not forget them. And we will not forgive also the people who were quiet back then. So I'm not anticipating people to take too much action. The only difference with Rafah particularly is the fact that you're literally on the border with Egypt. It's a sad state of affairs, really. However, that's what could push an all-out war or a bigger escalation or a limited targeting that could escalate to something bigger with Egypt particularly. But look, the people who didn't come to their rescue in the early days, we don't expect anything from them now. Lily M, my favorite YouTuber, Aloha from Hawaii. Aloha back, thank you so much. I'm really glad to hear that. Vivette is also asking, Vivette Shanti, I saw reports that Egypt is putting up tents on Rafah border. Is that true? Look, they already have a couple of limited field hospitals to take in some Palestinian wounded people. They are preparing in mass, okay? They have tents enough for hundreds of thousands of people. But that doesn't mean they're going to open the borders and accept the Palestinian people. They're just planning because they have to plan ahead. Like you have a genocide going next to you. You need to take all measures possible as a country. You'll be on top high alert mode. That's why the Egyptian army was on the highest alert just a few weeks in. They had military training. They have a couple of divisions to their army, fully prepared for battle. Massive forces deployed in Sinai, and obviously those tents could be for potential Egyptian soldiers killed. Don't forget that if an all-out war breaks out, not just for the Palestinian people. So this is how they planned because the army prepared them. And they didn't want to take, and obviously I'm not justifying here because some people, unfortunately, they misquote what I say and don't listen to everything that I say. We're not justifying, Egypt's position. We're not justifying it. We're simply analyzing what we have in front of us. I'm not saying that that's right and that's wrong. No, I'm just telling you what there is so people don't have their hopes up high and understand the situation. Because many people are telling you, oh no, they'll invade tomorrow, and then the others tell you all of them are traitors and all of them are that, non-beneficial talk. Okay, if you have your mind made up, then why are you listening? Do you know what I mean? But we're analyzing what's happening. And that's why they could have so many tents. They took limited amounts of numbers of Palestinians, not to show Israel that we're taking all of them, not to give Israel more reasons to bomb more and have them have more people in. Because why is Israel destroying the hospitals as well? To obviously cut the lifeline, we know that. But also to say, that's your hospital over there. You need to seek treatment abroad. And Egypt knows that. They fought with Israel before. They're preparing. All of this time they're preparing for war with Israel. They know what they're up to. So I hope that clarifies. ABCD, Erdogan met Sisi and stated that he will give full support. That can be interpreted in two ways: either help facilitate an ethnic cleansing into the Sinai or resisting against the Zion Nazis, which means war. Look, I think it's the latter, simply because people need to understand Egypt was offered tens of billions. I mean, some people stated that the figure reached $200 billion as a package to let the Gazans enter Sinai and from there to go to other countries, because they wanted to kind of show as if we're not trying to have a problem with you, we just want to expel them. They resisted all of that. You need to remember that. So preparing for an ethnic cleansing now, what are they going to do with their own people? People are already criticizing them for not taking enough action when it comes to this. Imagine them enabling in the ethnic cleansing this genocide from being completed in front of all of the world's eyes. They will risk themselves, number one. And these people consider their situation, right? To the contrary, I think, obviously, although we always expect more to the level of what's happening, but they created a strategic cooperation council. They obviously, the main aim of Erdogan, he was saying, is Gaza, how we will action things when it comes to Gaza. And it came just before Rafah, as things with Rafah are escalating, which signal that, hold on a second, we might have some action here, so we need to prepare. What they didn't talk about and what they kept a secret is the military tie. The fact that they're sending them the most advanced UAVs, and now Israel is getting more UAVs as well. Why are they getting it? Okay, Israel, you have an argument. They can use it in Gaza or in Lebanon because they deployed Division 36 in Lebanon now, their most advanced, supposedly. We saw their advanced, supposedly advanced military in Gaza and how humiliated they are. But they're getting UAVs from their end. So, Anna from California, welcome. Coffee and Travel Mahmoud Nasrallah mentioned at some point Al Jazair. Was he mentioning Algeria? I speak few Arabic but clearly not enough to understand the whole speech. Yes, he spoke about Al Jazair is Algeria in Arabic, and he gave an example of how you need a lot of sacrifice to reach a solution and independence, and he gave an example of 1 million Algerian martyrs that took to get rid of the French occupiers. So yes, he meant Algeria. Muslim revert, Palestinians work for the Mossad also. And then you said especially in the West Bank. Look, obviously, I mean, some Palestinians, obviously, they collaborate with Israel fully. People need to understand that very well. And there's lots of activity with the West Bank, of course, because they have blatant security ties with them. Let no one be delusional. That's why it's important to highlight, like the Palestinians are not some sort of a special race or whatever here, okay? We're all human beings. Obviously, you can have a different argument when it comes to Gaza specifically, because these people showed, I mean, superhuman stuff when it comes to this, in terms of their resilience, their strength, their faith, their power. But obviously, generally, Palestinians, you have the good, you have the bad. Rita, Chicago, USA, love your content. Keep up the good work. I will. Thank you so much for tuning in, and all of you. Shauna, what do you think about a two-state fix with Hamas in charge of Palestine? Look, firstly, I don't really think it's realistic now to talk about a two-state solution, simply because of how far and how much we've negotiated a two-state solution, 31 years now since the Oslo Accords. The fact that Israel put so many obstacles, and this supposed state is basically, in Israel's proposition, nothing more than a small council with limited powers, really. You know, no right to return for refugees. Who are you? Who is anyone to say, tell me no right to return for refugees? Who can speak on their behalf? People who were expelled in 1948 and 1967. Who has the right to speak on their behalf? That's part of the two-state solution. Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian president, he accepted it. He declared once, like, I'm from Safad, he said, I know that I don't have a right to go back to Safad. I've been trying to show an example. Who are you to say that? So it's really unrealistic to happen. However, if something does happen, because it was really likely before Rabin was assassinated, the Israeli prime minister, who was about to take serious steps towards that in Palestine and with Syria too, by the way. However, if we want to talk about now, it's not about who I think should be in charge, it's about who the people think should be in charge. So if really and truly, you know, the impossible happens and Israel agrees there will be a two-state solution or whatever, you know, I don't think they will. I call for a one state with full equality. But regardless of what I think, let's take that example. Israel agrees to a two-state solution, full sovereignty, something that they never agreed to, by the way. But let's hypothetically say that. And who should be in charge of democracy? Let the people charge. If they want to charge Hamas, Hamas is in charge. If they want to have Fatah or a new movement, let them control. We're for liberty, right? People's choice. Yakubu Umar, what was the actual figure of the last and wounded IOF? If you mean about the last ambush that was in Khan Yunis a few days ago, Israel admitted that approximately 20 were wounded in that ambush. Overall, they're, they're really, really shady with the figures, but I heard a recent figure that said 20,000 Israeli soldiers are disabled. Now, if 20,000 Israeli soldiers are disabled, well, how many are killed, right? And that's just the disabled, not the wounded. What are we talking about, 40 or 50,000 wounded then? If that's the case, urban warfare stats in urban warfare, usually, and that's not your typical urban warfare because it's destroyed land, so you have an upper hand for the resistance anyway. But Israel's obviously, they made a stupid move by destroying everything, made life more difficult for them. It's because they just wanted to destroy everything. They didn't have a military. They didn't see it from a military vision, right? But the ratio is 1 per 3. So 1 killed per 3 injured in urban warfare. If you're telling me 20,000 are disabled, okay, how much are injured then? 50,000 according to that? 50,000, we take the statistic that isn't really implementable on this and could be far worse from the videos that we're seeing, obviously. 15,000? 20,000 killed? I wouldn't be surprised. Ansarullah says, look at the disaster of Rafah with Palestinians breaking into Egypt. Now, how many people need to die before Iran has launched a full-scale attack to erase Zionist colony? All 2.3 million. Look, both Hezbollah and Iran have their own calculations as to the entry of the war. Obviously, Iran, that's why they have allies, because to them they can attack and we don't have political, military, or judicial implications as a state. When it comes to Hezbollah, they have their own calculations. They are in Lebanon, right? Not everyone in Lebanon is agreeing with them. They don't want to be deemed to be the side that brought another Gaza upon Lebanon, right? Because, some people are arguing now, like, why did Hamas started? They brought this upon themselves, right? Which is a malicious argument because you're taking away the responsibility from the culprits, from the evildoers, right? But they have their calculations. Obviously, that's, how it works, really, regardless of whether you agree with it or not. Hina, are you also from Palestine? Yes, I'm Palestinian, born in modern-day Israel, or if you want to call it occupied Palestine, a northern city called Haifa. But I'm in the UK. um, Zaid Sayed, not sure if you've spoken about this. Mahmoud, can you talk about Hezbollah Nasrullah front in Lebanon? Well, it's escalating. I did speak about it briefly in the other video that I posted that you can watch after this live stream. But in short, obviously there was this recent escalation when Hezbollah attacked a base and and Israel had 10 casualties from their army, and they admitted that 2 were killed. Then Israel started an offensive attacking civilians, typical. They just wanted the number to be higher in Lebanon. This is how the Israeli psyche works. If you killed some of our soldiers, we'll kill your civilians if we can't catch the resistance, because your number, your death toll must always be higher than ours. This is how they view it. This is how the Israeli psyche, the Zionist psyche works. So they went out and bombarded multiple parts of southern Lebanon. The biggest massacre was in Nabatiyah. In total, they killed over 12 people, were martyred. And today, Nasrallah said that they will be punished. And he had a tone of escalation with them. How, when, we're not sure, but there's still exchanges. Obviously, I also spoke about in a previous video how Israel's Division 36 is in Lebanon, which is Israel's most advanced division that was in Gaza and failed in Gaza, by the way, but they sent it to Lebanon. However, it just signals that they're preparing for an all-out war. So it's pretty tense, really. It's pretty tense. Things can escalate in any second. Spring said being a Muslim, Jew, or Christian, etc. does not automatically make you good or bad, but the way you treat others does. Yeah, of course. I mean, it's treatment, really. Yeah, what's the point in someone telling you they're followers of your religion and they are awful individuals? They lie, they backstab you, they do all sorts of vile stuff, they steal. Of course, yeah, it's the treatment. There's even a saying in Islam, ad-din al-mu'amala. Religion is the dealings, how you deal with people, that's one of the most important things. And even in Islam, we talk about ladina amanu wa amilu salihat always in the Quran. Those who believed and did good, believed and did good, believed and did good. So belief is always tied with doing good. You can't just sit there telling me, oh, I'm a believer, that's it, I'm the chosen one, I'm better than everyone. It doesn't work like that. A, B, C, D said, if you have an American Western military base in your territory, that speaks volumes. That is so on point. Very, very accurate. Like Qatar, the mediator, biggest air military base. Saudi Arabia, so many military bases, right? Jordan, too. Google user said, where is Mahmoud Abbas and is he an agent working for the Mossad? Mahmoud Abbas is obviously the president of the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. He made a recent visit to Qatar to apparently talk about the next day, right, with Hamas. And he made a statement putting pressure on Hamas to reach a deal. Imagine that. He has the audacity to do that. Is he an agent working for the Mossad? Well, all of his actions imply that the man doesn't really have the Palestinian national interest, according to what he did previously. And obviously, you can't prove or disprove someone works for the Mossad, for example, right? But we see things based on actions. You've been negotiating. You took the political diplomatic route with Israel for 30 years, and you haven't been able to achieve statehood. Doesn't that ring alarm bells? Israel continued to expand in the West Bank. They still kill your people on a daily basis. Your agreements with them ban you from protecting your own people if you want to kill them. You even tell Israel and inform them about where certain people are. You imprison people on Israel's behalf. All of these things, like, who do you work for? The national Palestinian interest or what? Madani Boutaba, hello Mahmoud, very important question. A few days ago, Sinwar and his family were caught on tape fleeing in the tunnels. Why Sinwar is still in Gaza and can he get out via Egypt? Thank you so much. Well, in theory, he can get out of Gaza if he wants to, potentially. However, the video. Please, whenever Israel releases something, remember, you're talking about pathological liars, hyper pathological liars. These people can release videos that are fake, videos that were published previously. Did someone see Sinwar's face even? Right, we saw them planting evidence in Al Shifa. We saw them having made up video clips of their soldiers acting as if they were Palestinian fighters. These people are pathological liars. They live and thrive on deception and deflection and lies and manipulation and propaganda, even on their own people. So I obviously would take this video not with a pinch of salt, but with 2 bowls of salt and a mix of really spicy peppers on top before I believe that video. Dan Gray, thank you so much for your super thanks. Ghassan Safadi, Dove Weiss Glasses, Sharon spokesperson, 2004 Regaza. I'm not sure if did you mention it because it was what I was talking about? I'm not sure if it was the same person with regards to what's it called, his plan to withdraw from Gaza if he was his legal advisor as well. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, let's go to the Vilma Avila. Thank you so much for your super thanks. Anyone sending super thanks, I really appreciate it. Okay. And Turkmen Ogli. Salam, brother. Keep up the positives. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. Where did we reach? Sorry, I need to go up a bit to reach the last comment and then go back down again. Where were we? I had a comment from SSQ Free Palestine in Arabic. I'll translate that for you. Anyway, Mahmoud Abbas is still labeled as the Palestinian president, even though he's non-elected, and every Palestinian I know or asked him, he swears when he hears this name. He is an unwanted person. Yeah, I mean, that's the common theme, really, with Abu Mazen, Mahmoud Abbas. Jack Ayub, Salam alaikum Mahmoud, Habibi, wa alaikum salam, Habibi wa rahmatullah. Do you think that the plan between the resistance in Lebanon, where did we go? Hold on a second. I think there was a plan between the resistance in Lebanon. Sorry, this popped up again. Sorry, the message went away for some reason. Amir Khan, how long can the resistance keep fighting within Gaza? They probably have finite amount of weapons and ammunition. There's no supply lines or replenishment. Israel has unlimited supplies. Well, they can fight for a very long time, and the notion that they don't have supply lines or replenishment is wrong, because they do produce their own weapons and they do have supply lines that are obviously known to the public. Why would they make it known to the public? Obviously, Israel gets it blatantly from the US and its other allies, but the Palestinian resistance has it too, and they manufacture it. How could they survive for such a long time, still striking Israel with strategic missiles? Obviously, they're focusing more on defensive measures, but how many RPGs did they? They blew up over 1,100 Israeli tanks. So clearly, there's a supply line. Israel's obviously suspecting Egypt. Most likely, there might be something. Obviously, that's why they are, increasing the tone with Egypt, so they can last for a very long time. Gift asks, but who Jews exactly are? White or Arabs, or which race do they belong? Interesting. Any person, any race can be Jew, because Judaism is a religion. What the Zionist movement tried to do is convert that religion into a race, which is something very, very dangerous, malicious in many ways, and harmful for the Jewish religion. It's like me saying Saudi Arabia is a representative of Islam. And then, hold on a second. So, any of their actions can be taken back to Islam. Imagine we all take what Israel does now to Judaism. How bad would that look? What would we think of Judaism as a religion based on what Israel does? Because it calls itself the representative of the Jewish people. So in short, Judaism is a religion The Zionists tried to convert it to a race, and it's being supported outside of Israel. You know, people declaring that they're Zionists and this and that. That's why they demonize and, you know, label anyone criticizing Israel, because it's the Jewish state, as if you're attacking Judaism as a religion, something very malicious, very harming. And many Jews are aware of this, and we constantly repeat that Judaism is a religion. You need to distinguish between that and Zionism and Israelism and Semitism. FXD is asking, Mahmoud, are you Ahlus Sunnah? Well, I describe myself religiously as a Muslim. I do not follow any sect in Islam. I believe that I follow the teachings of our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He didn't declare himself as a Sunni. As a matter of fact, Imam Ali, peace be upon him, radiallahu anhu, neither did he say he was a Shia. There are very strict messages in the Holy Quran against sectarianism. إن الذين فرقوا دينهم وكانوا شيعا لست منهم في شيء. Those who have divided their religion became sects, you have nothing to do with them. God told the Prophet, peace be upon him, alongside other things. So I did religiously, I'm a Muslim, and that is it. The hamster is asking about lineage in terms of the Jewish religion. In the Jewish religion, usually you are Jewish if your mother is Jewish. And that's by tradition. And obviously, not all Jews are religious Jews. But by tradition, if your mother is Jewish, you are Jewish. Ryan, what is your opinion on Hamas? I think Hamas is a response to Israel. You know, many people talk about Hamas as an organization. From my perspective, Hamas is a symptom or an antidote to a bigger problem. That bigger problem is occupation, supremacy, racism, brutality. It will come either in the form of Hamas or anything else, because it's human nature to resist, to protect yourself, to defend yourself. Hamas, in the form of from Palestine, is a certain translation to this resistance. However, if you're asking about my personal political affiliation, I have never been affiliated directly with any political group. Esdras Santos, thank you so much from Brazil for your super thanks. Muhammad said, Salam alaikum, brother Mahmoud. May Allah protect you from any harm, and you, my brother, and all of you. Jack Ayub, do you think the IDF soldiers are wearing down to the point they don't want another war with Lebanon? Well, look, Jack, there was a report in Haaretz the other day about Giv'ati soldiers who have been deployed in the northern part of Gaza refusing orders. So they're taking disciplinary action against them. Their argument is, we haven't received a break, we didn't get any replenishment, and if we are deployed, it could potentially be dangerous for us and our colleagues, and they refuse to be deployed. So this talk in many ways about deployment in Lebanon is absurd, and it's not only absurd to us as people observing this, but it's also absurd and not realistic to people in the military and intelligence community. Excuse me, like the previous Amman head that I quoted a couple of days ago, I think his name was Uri Sagi, if I'm not mistaken. If you look back at some of my previous videos, people warning from extending the war in Israel, and these are people who are in the establishment of Israel, deep-rooted people. And the problem is Netanyahu is stunting their capability to operate and use their expertise in reaching deals and doing stuff. They're saying we potentially can't have an operation in Lebanon because of what we're doing. I mean, the IDF chief, and that's when we talk about Lebanon, he said we can't actively go to another war with Lebanon. Realistically speaking, not many people buy Netanyahu's lies about this supposed victory. Many people, it says it's impossible to achieve. Like the previous head of the Mossad, Amir Pardo, said, we have to agree on a deal by the conditions of Yahya Sinwar. This is what he said as previous head of the Mossad. Other military leaders said other things. The IDF chief, the current one, Herzi Halevi, he had a very fierce disagreement with Benjamin Netanyahu on the operation in Rafah. He said that, okay, Netanyahu is giving orders. What he said to Netanyahu, there are political moves that need to be done before we take a military action. So imagine the conflict, the power battle between them. Obviously, he needs to listen to orders. But if you're going to do that at the expense of the strategic relationship you have with Egypt, for example, another thing he added in, we need to make sure the military is prepared, hinting that the military is not prepared. They've suffered so much losses, tens of thousands of injured and disabled. What are we talking about? Right? But Netanyahu is so keen on coming out of this war with like an ultimate image of victory, because obviously if this war ends and it's like a deal, he's done. He's completely roasted. But he needs to push it so hard to try and achieve like a massive win against the Hamas. Like he says he wants to demolish the Hamas. Now he went down, he toned it down like a complete victory. To reach something called a complete and absolute victory on Hamas, you're talking about years and years. But you're always gonna have ups. You haven't reached the tipping edge of the tunnels, right? You still can't control anything on the ground. Anywhere you go in and out. You're not based in certain locations apart from extreme north or to the east, temporary bases. You're not established in the core resistance areas. You can't take down the Burej camp. You can't take down Nusayrat. You can't take down Khan Yunis. You can't take down Gaza City. You're still being resisted in the most northern parts of Gaza. And you're telling me about Rafah and a war with Lebanon, right? And many people in Israel are aware of this and are warning against this. Like, okay, a big victory rather than a complete victory against Hamas, and let's reach a deal. Like the other day, one of them, who I quoted as well, he said that we're being offered a good package here that could potentially be good in terms of strategic ties and economic ties with Arab states. So clearly, America's leveraging, with the solution, a Palestinian state solution, with economic and political benefits. They're tying it to a deal with Saudi Arabia, potentially peace process with them, economic ties, right? And if Saudi Arabia recognizes Israel, that's something really, that's a big accomplishment. That's what Israel's been working towards for all of these years. Saudi Arabia, the leader of the Muslim world, right? In terms of the holiest places, not the leader in terms of but in terms of holy sites of the recognizing Israel, right? That's a big thing. So that's why they have this package, and some Israeli leaders in the military and previous intelligence services are saying, look, we're being offered a really good deal. What are we going? Where are we going here? But we're talking about Benjamin Netanyahu, a guy who clearly shows traits of narcissistic psychopathy. He's a sociopath, psychopath, Benjamin Netanyahu, who's also showing signs of paranoia and distrust in everyone around him. He's a very dangerous person. He led Israel to 5 elections under 4 years. In total, you've also had approximately 6, 7 in 7 years. Just because he wanted to remain the leader of the Likud party. So many other parties said, we'll make a unity with your party, but not with you particularly because you're corrupt. Right? This is the person you're talking about leading this war. So they're stuck with him, really, with Benjamin Netanyahu. Loseb Jugashvili, what's up, boss man? Salute from Canada. Salute back. Thank you so much. And all of you who are sending greetings and messages. I'm just trying to, obviously, sorry if I can't address all of the questions because we just want to target the ones that are kind of close to the topic for tonight. But welcome to everyone joining us and listening, obviously from everywhere. Okay. Senko saying what kind of capabilities the Egyptian army has. Look, they have a lot of capabilities. They're the strongest Arab army. Egypt, they've diversified their military equipment, their strategic ties with many countries, and they are a very, very big threat to Israel. So they're very, very capable in terms of air defense, air force, tanks, equipment, special unit. Anas Belshab, thank you so much for your super thanks. And I'm sorry if I missed some of you. And Majid Hamdan, thank you so much. Majid is saying, Mahmoud, thanks for all of that you're doing with the videos and live streams to keep us informed. You're welcome. I quit watching MSM about their one-sided coverage on this topic. I quit watching them too, dude. Thank you so much, obviously, for that. And I quit watching them. I mean, what am I gonna watch? A headline of King Charles having cancer, or now all they're doing is Navalny. They're talking about Navalny as if Navalny's life is worth more than all of 27,000, 28,000 Palestinian lives lost in Gaza. Navalny is more important. Okay, where did we reach? Sorry if I have to go back up again and then go back down. Let me have a look. Ibrahim Abu Bakr, Salam ya Mahmoud, more light on the Nasser hospital. Is it true that they arrest some Hamas members and recover hostages? Look, if you want a real image about Israel's attacks on hospitals, take Al Shifa as a prime example. They have been telling us, everyone, that Al Shifa hospital has Hamas's base underneath it since 2009. Not now, since 2009 they've been saying that. Genocide happened, they go in, they attack Al Shifa. Hamas allowed them, by the way, they allowed them to go in because they could have faced resistance, they didn't. They went to Al Shifa, they went down, they saw nothing. They started planting evidence. And then they immediately moved on to, oh no, Hamas's hub is in Khan Yunis, not in Al Shifa. Right? Same thing. They want to target hospitals to kill every lifeline for the Palestinian people, like how they cut off water. Ladies and gentlemen, people are starving to death. People are dying because of hunger in Gaza. There was a girl today, I posted her image. She's a cute and brave little girl. Sally, her name was. Having videos like, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten nothing but plants and drank a bit of water. I'm hungry. I want to eat. Right? With this kind of attitude. And imagine people are dying, other children, because of malnutrition. This is their aim from Al Nasser Hospital and from any other functioning hospital to make them dysfunctional. They threatened the previous manager of Al Shifa Hospital. First, they broke his arms, they tortured him, and they wanted to force him to say that Hamas is using Al Shifa as a hub, as a military. He rejected, but they tortured him to try and make him confess that. Muhammad Abbasi, thank you so much for your super thanks. What do you think about Iran and its playing chess game with US and Israel? I mean, if you want to look about it in the grand scheme of things, if you want to describe it as a chess game, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't, because it would kind of potentially insinuate that Iran is not genuine with what it's doing. And by what they've done, they are genuine, in my opinion, at least based on what they've done. Like, they supported the Palestinian cause before Hamas existed, before their current allies, right? Khomeini was with Yasser Arafat, right? The Palestinian cause was one of their main slogans in the 1979 revolution. Again, think of it what you want to think. And they actively support the Palestinian resistance. They are relentless supporters of the Palestinian cause everywhere. They're the most fierce when it comes to criticizing Israel heavily. However, obviously, like any other big country, you'll have points of give and take, right? In terms of like again, chess, I wouldn't describe it as a chess game, but they obviously use their leverage, with all of their allies in the region. And as a matter of fact, their tone officially, they just want to reach a solution, really. And don't forget the inflammatory escalators, right? The people who make problems are the people here, the people in Britain, the leaders in Britain, not the people, the leaders in the British government, the leaders in the American government. These are the people who start the fires and add fuel to the fire. You have a prime example in the Red Sea. You have a movement, country, Ansarullah in Yemen, taking very legitimate, noble measures of trying to stop this genocide in a relatively peaceful way when it comes to ships, by the way, embargo. Yet they go and start bombing them. But they don't think about taking any action against Israel. No, they'll support Israel. These are the people who we should be highlighting here, really, rather than, Iran and what they do. Iran, like I said, they are, in my opinion, genuine in their support for the Palestinian cause, and I hope that elaborates. I love you, jokers. I love people who bring jokes. John Klein is saying, Hamas built a base under my house in Indiana. They tunneled all the way from Gaza. They come into my home at night and steal food and hide weapons. My God, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they reach that level, to be honest with you. Apparently, they found a Mein Kampf book in a children's room. Right, so ridiculous. When they made this facade tour in their settlements that were attacked on the 7th of October, they're showing remaining bullet shells in children's cots and stuff. Ridiculous stuff. Zari74, do you think the butchers will succeed moving the people to Sinai in Egypt, and when will the Muslim countries intervene? I personally do not think they will be successful. Obviously, things might change, but in my opinion, they will not be successful. And I say that for several reasons. If they didn't succeed in the first 42 days of this barbaric, genocidal campaign, why should they succeed now? More eyes are on them, more people are against them. The side that they're up against, Egypt, is very much awake and aware of what they're doing. The Palestinian people are awake and aware of what they're doing, more so than how aware they were in 1948. In 1948, they were innocent. They were told, leave your country and you can come back later. They fled. Next thing they know, they spent their life in refugee camps in Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan. Now, the Palestinian people in Gaza are telling them, no, no, we're refusing to have another Nakba. We'll die here, right? This is what the real owners of the land do. The fake owners, of the stealers, the robbers, they flee. That's what's happening on the other side. Okay, let's just take a couple of last questions before we wrap up. Okay, I'll take the last question from Russia, Saranda. Any idea if the Chechen Muslims would eventually come to help in Gaza? Look, that's very unlikely, in my opinion. Again, unless we're talking about a global escalation, right? A very, very big escalation. Then you can see potentially people coming from all across, from Yemen, from wherever, um, to other parts, right? Molly encouraging people to hit the like button. Thank you, Molly. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Hit that like and that heart. Thank you. Unless there's an all-out war going on, I don't think anyone will come from other uh, places. In the meantime, look, it's almost impossible because you're talking about so much restrictions, so many restrictions, so many measures taken on the borders for anyone. But if all hell breaks loose, you know, we pray that we will reach a peaceful solution that will be good for everyone. We call for it and promote it. But if it doesn't go that way, anyone from anywhere could potentially start going. But let's hope and pray for a good, decent solution with equality, freedom, justice, and liberty for the Palestinian people, firstly, first and foremost, and for the rest of the people as well. Okay, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for my moderators, Violet and Oryx, everyone who shared their very good questions and made, lovely comments and supportive comments as well. Thank you very, very much for this. I really appreciate it. As I told you previously, I'll be with you every single night at 10 GMT to speak to you. This live stream is primarily for you subscribers and members of this channel, simply to make it more engaging, because like you see, it's almost impossible for me to respond to everyone on the channel, and obviously you can't be on technology devices all the time. So that's why I do this every evening to speak, answer, elaborate, contextualize, be succinct as well, and be beneficial, hopefully. So thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your evening and your weekend, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow. Salam, everyone. Good night and take care. Bye.